Before we learned how to build a multiple threads web server, and I will leave the link of the how to build this multiple thread web server down the description. When we press Ctrl+C to shut down the server, all the threads will immediately stop, even the thread is still handling the request. So let's make some change to make sure all the thread will finish before the server shut down. Let's go to this lib.rs file. Let's implement a job treat on this thread poll structure. impl job for thread poll. And we also need to implement this job method on this block. So fn job. And this job method will take a multiple reference to self as parameter. When server shut down, this thread poll instance will go out of scope, so it will call this job method. So in this job method, we want to call the join method on each thread to make sure each thread will finish. Let's use for loop to iterate over each worker in this thread poll. Reference mute self the workers, and we can get the thread field from each worker. And if we call the join method, and because this join method will return a result value, so we need to call the unwrap to handle that result. You can see compiler will give us an error because we can't move out of this thread. This join method will take the ownership of this thread. To avoid leaving an empty value in a field, we can use the option to hold that value. So when we move out of that value, so we can leave a none in that field. So in this worker, we will use option to hold this join handle. Then you can see compiler will give us some other error. Here we need to put this thread in the sum. So thread sum, and hold this thread, and we get rid of this error. Here we need to change this, and we will use if let to destructure the value in the sum. So sum, and give the value in this sum a name thread equal to worker the thread, and we will use a take method. This take method will move the sum value out of the field and leave a none to this field. Then we can call the join method on this thread to make sure each thread will finish. Another problem is we add a loop keyword on this thread, so this thread will forever run. So if we call this join on this thread will never end. So the main thread will always waiting for this thread to end. This server will never shut down. To break this loop, we can drop this sender from this thread pool. Then this sender will close the channel. The channel closed, the receiver in this worker will receive an error. So when worker receive that error, we will break this loop. To drop the sender in this thread pool, we need to take the ownership and move this sender out of the field. So we can't leave this field empty. Like this thread, we need to put this in the option value. So when we move this sender away, we can leave a none in this field. And here we get an error. When we return this thread poll instance, we need to put this sender in a sum. So sum sender. In this execute method, there is an error because this sender is in the sum. So we need to unwrap this sender to call this sender method. So let's call the unwrap method. This unwrap method will take the ownership of this sender in this sum. So we don't want in this execute method to take the ownership of this sender. So let's call the as ref method to create a reference to the inner value in this sum. So this unwrapper method will not take this standard ownership. Let's go back to this drop method. In this method, we will call drop function to drop the standard. So we will pass the self the standard into this drop function as argument. And because when we call this drop function to drop this standard, it will move this standard away. So this standard field will become empty. So we will call the take method to leave a none to this field. So that field standard will not be empty. When this standard dropped, this channel will be closed, and this receiver in this worker will receive an error. So let's handle that error. So let's just remove this unwrapper method after this recv method. We will handle that result value from this recv method by ourselves. So let's give this variable another name, just give it a name result. And let's remove this code. We will use match expression to handle this result. And when this result is okay, this okay will hold the drop we want to execute. So we give this inner value in this okay a name drop, and we will run this drop by added a pair of parentheses after this drop. Then if this result return an error, we will not use the error message in this error. We will just call the break to break this loop. Let's go to main.is file, and after this incoming method, we will call the take method and pass a value 2 into this method as argument. This take method will just return first 2 elements of this incoming returning iterator. So after first 2 requests, this for loop will end. So let's start our server. In our terminal, let's cargo run, and our server will start. And let's go to web browser, go to this address and press enter. This is the first request. Then let's refresh this page, and this is the second request. Let's refresh again. You can see we can't request our server anymore. Let's go back to our Visual Studio Code. You can see our server shut down. After 2 requests, this for loop will end, so this poll instance will go out of scope. And when this poll is go out of scope, it will be dropped. When it dropped, it will call this drop method. This drop method will drop the standard from this thread poll, and also will call the draw method on each thread to make sure each thread finish. When this standard dropped, the channel will be closed, so this receiver in the worker will no longer receive drop anymore. When this receiver receives an error, it will break this loop. This take method just for the demonstration. We don't want a real-world web server shut down after just taking 2 requests. And this is how we gracefully shut down our web server. Hope I see you next time.